This message is for those who internalize words and emotions. I learned something very powerful over the past 2 weeks with a lot of discussion and a lot of talk between my husband and I. I learned something very, very powerful that I want to share with other people who internalize words and emotions. And this video is more for those individuals who are gifted with a lot of different things that are unlike the norm in society. Maybe there's something calling you to go outside of the norm of society, but you haven't really specified what it is. You don't know what it is, but there's just something pulling at you. And you know that you're not meant to fit into the norms or the normal way society works. A lot of times we internalize things, and you may deal with a little depression. A lot of times I've found that, and I especially learned this when I went to counseling, individual counseling about maybe 6 years ago. And I went there for depression. But the counselor told me that she didn't see anything wrong with me. She said, what I do see is that you're a very strong woman. You're very smart. And so because of that, society has a way of making very smart women feel bad about themselves. Like, that's just straight up what she told me. Like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that society sometimes can't handle women who are very, very gifted or very, very strong. And even though she told me that, it took me several years later to really understand that when people say in society, it's not just a few individuals. It could be your close family members. It could be your close friends. It could be people that you consider very close to you who will try, because they do not understand you. You will begin to internalize their doubts or their fear of the unknown. What I mean by this is, a lot of times we as people, especially very creative people, do not understand our gifts. We do not understand what has been gifted to us probably from the day we were born, because we're just very creative and very gifted people. That does not mean to say that those who have other gifts that fit into the norms of society are not gifted. I'm not saying that. But let's just be honest. There are some people who have talents and gifts that just don't fit into the world in which people are accepting of some things. You know, that you may not be the upcoming doctor, or you may not work at the call, or even if you work at the call center like I once did, people may notice that you just don't fit in. You don't fit into the 9 to 5. Your behavior is different. When you dress, you're very creative with how you dress, or maybe you dress in a way that people can't even understand how you put those things together. And I feel that a lot of times we as people who are creative, we honestly do not understand our gifts. And that is your gifts are not to be taken for granted. And I just want to talk about how you can start to internalize these things, these doubts, and not even realize it. For example, let's say that you start saying, you know what, I want to drink 6 glasses of water today to clear my head, my mind, and my body. And let's say the people around you have never been introduced into someone drinking water because they want to clear their head and their body. Let's say this is a concept that you know internally will work for you, but no one else has ever heard of it. A lot of times, let's say you go out to dinner with a friend and you share with them, you're happy, you're joyful, you've been drinking the 6 glasses of water every day and it's working. You feel that the water is cleansing you and making you feel good. In fact, you don't feel it, you know it. So you go out with a so-called good friend. And not to say that individuals who do this are not good friends. It's just that we have to understand that in life, there's a lack of understanding of the unknown, of people that have gifts and talents that sometimes they don't align with what we think should happen or how a person should be. So you go out with a good friend, you're happy, you're joyful because you feel good about your steps and the success that you've had in drinking these 6 glasses of water every day. And you tell your friend, first of all, you go out to dinner with them and your friend notices that you're joyful, you're happy. They notice that there's just a spark about you. There's a confidence about you. So as you and your friend are talking, you share with them that, you're just so excited on this journey of drinking 6 glasses of water a day, and you are on your way to feeling better, to being good. And as you say this with a friend, they're smiling, they're happy, but then something happens that you don't even realize happens. They say, that's very interesting. It's such an odd concept of drinking 6 glasses of water a day, but if you think that works for you, fine. Everybody drinks water. Now, in that subtle concept, you think, okay, well, fine. Everybody drinks water. And you just try to continue on throughout your conversation. You don't even realize that you've internalized this person's words. Because now, after this conversation, you kind of start, whether you realize it or not subconsciously, you kind of start doubting whether the water works. Little by little, you stop drinking it. You sort of back away from the water. And this could even be a business that you try to start. Maybe you start experimenting with different businesses or different ideas or using your talents in different ways. And then you're happy about it and you begin to share it with those that you think are close with you. And there's some comment that they make that is sort of passive aggressive that you don't even realize. And you begin to doubt your very own success. The success was proven when you started because you were happy. You were joyful. There's the results of the success, but whether we realize it or not, we sort of internalize these things. And so when we internalize them, we begin to feel sad. If you notice over time, when you start out doing something, and if you're in this situation, you will begin to feel sad. There will be a slow progression that you don't even realize of you backing away from the very thing that you started out on and the very thing that you were so happy about. You will begin to back away from it slowly but surely until finally it doesn't even exist anymore in your life. And you are totally unaware of what just happened. Because the words that you shared, that person said to you, you internalized them, and now you have sabotaged your own very success. Why does this happen? A lot of times we wonder, why do these things happen? And we think that we gave up. We think that we procrastinated, but it's not. It's simply because we didn't own our greatness. Now, when people use that term, what is greatness? And we say, we didn't own our greatness or be great. What exactly does that mean? Because it's just a word that you hear a lot, you know? You hear it a lot on talk shows and different things, and people, motivational speakers, they talk about being great. What is that really? What is being great? Let's say, what is that? No one really knows, right? What is the being great? Being great is really defining how you want to use your time, setting boundaries, understanding why you're setting the boundaries. Because when you look at time has a lot to do with purpose. Every time let's say if you get up in the morning and you say, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes, there's a purpose for that time. And there's a purpose for you wanting to work out. It's so that you can have a better productive day most of the time, or so that you can feel healthy or have a clear mind. So there's a purpose for that. And that is your greatness. And you have to own that time, because if not, you're going to dwindle it away. And there will be no purpose accomplished in that. So owning your greatness is owning your time, owning your strengths, using your time wisely, setting healthy boundaries. And when I say set healthy boundaries, let's revisit that conversation with the friend who kind of puts in a little passive aggressive words that cause you to doubt yourself. You have to set boundaries, not meaning that you have to disengage from their friendship. But if you really own your greatness, when people are talking to you, you will silently listen and observe their words, because their words are going to either be very encouraging or the words are going to be middle ground. And if they're middle ground, please watch out. That's a slippery slope, because subconsciously they're sending a different signal to you and you don't realize it. Have you ever watched, there's a video out about, it's either, what are the two tennis girls, Sabrina and Venus and Serena. And there's a video, I don't know which one of them it is, but there's a video where one of them is playing tennis at a very young age. It wasn't both of the sisters, but one of them, and they were being interviewed. One of the sisters was being interviewed. I don't know if it was Serena or Venus, but they were being interviewed by a reporter who wanted to know what caused her to believe that she would win this particular match. He asked her, was she going to win? She said, yes. He said, how do you know? She said, I just know. Then the reporter said, what makes you so confident that you're going to win? He kept questioning her about her strength of knowing. Her father, after about, I think the second question, or it might have been the first question, her father came out of nowhere and said, do not cause doubt in this little girl's mind. This is a young little black girl. Do not cause doubt in her mind. He was furious. He said, do not play these games with her. The reporter tried to, kind of make it seem like it wasn't a big deal, but the father wasn't having it. And I learned something from watching that clip. What I learned was that the father knew what was happening in that very instant, and he did not want it to happen to his daughter mentally. He did not want this reporter to subtly put in her mind that she would not win this tournament. Because if he keeps questioning her, how do you know you're going to win? How do you know? Eventually, at some point, she's going to doubt the fact that she may win. So when you're having conversations with people and you start to realize, you've got to realize first the value that you have within you. And when you start to realize that value, you're going to start to protect it. And when you start to protect it, protection means you're going to watch the conversations, the people, how you behave, things that you do. And so, when you do that, you're going to be more cognizant of the conversation, what that person said. And I think eventually at some point, we can get to a point where if we know something that we're going to do and we know that we have this greatness and we have this power we have to protect, when that person says something to us that we know is not encouraging us from a sincere place, I really believe then at that point, we will start to say less because we know that we're so powerful that we don't have to prove ourselves. In fact, we may even remove ourselves from that situation. We may say, hey, it was great having dinner with you, but as of right now, I need to go and focus on this. And that person may wonder, wow, what just happened? They just up and left, because you have now defined that you are so valuable and so great that you do not even want to hear anything that's speaking otherwise. That's the level of your greatness that you've gotten to. And a lot of people, this is the thing, a lot of times, the reason why people do this, and not that it really matters why they do it, but it'll help you understand your own greatness. A lot of times people are afraid of their own greatness. Everybody has a greatness, but you can't see the greatness until you have polished and refined some things about yourself. And that means that we all have different tests in life that we have to go through. We all have different journeys in our life that we have to complete. I remember once I was getting my master's program, and I kept changing a particular course. I don't know why I kept doing it. I can't remember, but I kept avoiding the course. I would take it off my class schedule and I would try to replace it with something else. And there was an older man in my class at the time, and we had become friends, and he would call me and check on me from time to time. And I remember him saying something that I will never forget. He said, Christy, have you ever heard of the story of the man that didn't cross the bridge? And I said, no. And he said, okay, let me tell you about that story. He said there was a man who was at a bridge. And whenever he would come to the bridge, he would just stand there. And he would try to find a different route. But no matter what happened, the route that he would find would always lead him back to that bridge. No matter which route he took, the route seemed to all lead him back to the bridge. He said the moral of this story is you can try to find as many shortcuts as you want, but the real deal is life is going to take you back to that same lesson over and over and over again until you cross the bridge. And I didn't really believe him until, I shouldn't say I didn't believe him, but I really didn't understand the concept of it until I went to go get my master's degree, and I started facing a class that I was trying to avoid, and I had to end up taking the class, and I finally crossed the bridge. And I thought about him because it came to my mind that he told me I could try to take all the shortcuts I wanted, but I was going to end up facing that same obstacle again until I crossed the bridge. And I finally crossed the bridge. So what I'm trying to say is when you own your greatness, you understand there'll be struggles, there'll be challenges. But when you have greatness and you protect what you know to be true about yourself, that you know you've gone through certain things in life, you've allowed yourself the chance to develop, like personal development. You've allowed yourself to do these things. You've allowed yourself to take care of yourself. There's going to be a self-confidence in you that maybe other people haven't achieved. And because you have this self-confidence, it's going to change some things about you. It's going to change the way people respond to you. It's going to change the way that even you will be able to interact with some friends, and some friends you won't be able to interact with. It will definitely create this separation. And I won't even say it's a separation. To me, it's more like a reflection. Because if you think about it, other people who have faced greatness and own their greatness and they have a purpose, they're going to enjoy you and your purpose because they are not afraid of you. They understand you. In fact, they may even want to learn from you. They may want to teach you something. But there are others who are afraid to face their greatness. They're afraid to go through a little bit of trial. They're afraid to face certain things. So because they're afraid to cross those bridges, and they'll take shortcuts, and every time they come to that bridge, they'll run away, they'll take another shortcut. When they see a person who's crossed the bridge, they will even run away from that person. And if they don't run away from that person, they will begin to reflect their own, and they will try to project their own insecurities onto the person who is trying to cross the bridge. That's what I'm trying to say. They will try to reflect. And so that's how they reflect their own imperfections, by questioning you, by belittling you, by saying things and then say they're just kidding when they know they're not kidding. They really mean to aim to lower your confidence in yourself. So when you begin to continue to understand how precious your gifts and strengths are, you will begin to observe others and stop internalizing their projections onto you. In fact, you will begin to question and look at that person's life and say, well, how can I even accept what they're saying when their life, or they're doing this in their life, or they have this going on in their life? And you will start to say, you know what? It's been great talking to the person, but I can't internalize. I cannot value what this person is telling me. I just can't do it. Example of that is my grandmother. She never had, any sort of, well, as far as I can remember, she raised me. She didn't have any sort of outside influences in her life. She never had a man live in her home, as far as I can remember. And she was a woman who, when she told you something about life, she could give you an example from her own life. She never tried to make you feel bad about where you were. She would share with you the experiences that she had been through. That's a person who's opening up their life to you and saying, hey, I've crossed this bridge. Listen to me. I've made a mistake here. Let's try to avoid this mistake. Let me help you get on the right track. But a person who questions you, belittles you, doesn't share anything with you about things they've been through in their life or anything they've learned in their life, I would suggest that you sort of just realize that you're confident in yourself, and you may need to seek and find others to seek and share your happiness with. Have you ever given a gift? And I'm going to end by talking about people that give gifts back. It's a prime example of a reflection of their insecurities. Have you ever given? This has happened to me probably 2 or 3 times in my life. Have you ever given a gift to someone and you took the time to find a beautiful gift, something that you would want this person to have because you value them? You give them the gift. And have you ever seen a person say, oh, I like it, But why did you buy? Or you can have this back. I don't really need this. Or they'll delay in looking at the gift. Like you'll give them the gift and they won't be excited about it. They'll delay the gift and they'll just kind of put it to the side like it's nothing. And I've seen people do this. People that are close to me that I just didn't understand why they did it. And I started realizing as I've done some introspection, I've started realizing the reason why they do it is because it's almost like the confidence. They can't handle the beauty of the gift. They can't handle not the gift itself, but the beauty of the intentions that came behind it. It's too much for them. And so when a person begins to not look at a gift, give a gift away, it says a lot. They cannot accept a gift. They cannot say thank you. They cannot delight in the beauty of the intent of graciousness, of acceptance, of value. They just can't handle it. Or have you seen a person be given a great opportunity and they sabotage it? It's because there's something going on internally with their confidence, with themselves, that they cannot face greatness. So if you are a person who is on the edge of trying to cross the bridge to walk over into your greatness, you have to be cautious of the others that you may not realize that are around you that are afraid of your greatness and their own greatness. So you'll have to cross that bridge alone or with others who are cheering you on to see your greatness shine through. With that, I will say have a happy Monday. I hope this is motivating to someone who needs it out there. I hope these words fall into the ears of those who will understand. Have a happy Monday.